Welcome everyone to season 1, episode 1 of Eye Conversations. How did you figure out that eyewear was the path you wanted to go down and this was going to be part of your life's work?
This medical thing kind of piqued my interest because now jewelry you don't need. It's something you want. But this was a product that you needed because you need to see. And then you add a component of I want style.
I think as a woman, I think it's a little bit harder because you're a daughter, you're a wife, you're a mother, and it's very challenging, I think, for women not to just become all of those three things and to remember that somewhere there's a person in there too.
What made it that at that moment you were like, okay, now is a time for me to be able to entrust what I have built all these years into another company's hands?
It actually started in 2006 or 7. We had Larry Sands calls in a private meeting at the Lutèce Hotel in Paris. I think Robert Mark was there and Rick Morgenthau was there. So he turned around and says, what are we going to sell our businesses to?
Sometimes I'll hear someone say, oh yeah, well you guys don't own it anymore. Yes, but it's still got the same quality. It still has the same people. It still has the same standards. It's still one of the best in Florida.
Daniela one day comes up to me and says, you know, you should take a look and consider changing the brand. And I said, change the brand to what? To Edward Beiner. I said, why would I do that? I don't want my name up there.
Building something is very challenging. I don't know if we're going to make payroll this week.
I might have push, but it's Daniela that asks the questions. It's not we go opposite directions. It's okay, now that I understand what the risk is, I'm willing to take the risk with you.
I just don't understand how we got here.
We'll find out today. Welcome everyone to season 1, episode 1 of Eye Conversations. This is a podcast where we invite you, the listener, in to intimate conversations with my fellow industry icons. Now, this podcast and conversation, we go beyond the business and we get a chance to talk to our guests about what they've built and who they've become. Now, for my first episode, I knew that I had to go big. And our first guests, not only have they made a huge impact in our industry, they personally made a huge impact in my life. So for episode 1, our first guest is no other than the icon, the legend, Daniela Zanzuri. Oh, and by the way, she also brought her husband with her, Ed Beiner. Edward Beiner. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, Tarrence. Nice to be here with you.
Nice to be here as well,
Nice
Ed.
to be here.
Ed, how do you like that introduction, Ed?
Fantastic.
Well, you both look
And
great.
properly set up.
Yes. And we'll get to that, why I said that in a bit, because it goes back to a story of when we first met face to face. And I'll touch on that a little later. Now, anyone that knows you, both know that you love to travel. And that didn't start just recently. You've both been traveling your whole life. So why don't we just start off, tell us, where are you from? I mean, where were you born, but also where were you raised? We'll start with you, Ed.
So I was born in a small city in Brazil called Santos. And it was just, it was a magical period in my life. I left there when I was 14. My parents actually left when I was 14 years old, and we moved to San Juan, Puerto Rico. So yes, that's the first 14 years of my life. Wow. Two countries and a couple of cities.
Amazing. And Daniela, what about you?
I was born in New York. I was raised in Puerto Rico. We moved when I was 2. My mom was first generation English, and my father was born in Libya in North Africa when it was an Italian colony. And my mother went to Libya for work with the United Nations, and they met, and then my dad had to leave his country, and we ended up in Puerto Rico. I was born in New York, so.
Okay. So New York, Brazil, I'm guessing you met in Puerto Rico?
It's a very good guess.
Now, I always ask this question, and usually there's the husband's answer, and then there's the truth. So Danielle, I'll ask you, how did you guys meet?
So we can't really answer that very well, but we both remember the first time we saw each other. So we were, the school in Puerto Rico was a very small school. It was a converted house. And Ed was in the class for people whose English was not their main language. He was still learning English. And I was in 5th or 6th grade. And I always remember looking across, and we both remember seeing each other. But we didn't talk. I mean, I'm not going to romanticize this and say it was love at first sight or anything like that. But because the island was so small, we ended up being in the same youth group together, and we would see each other at parties, and we would just talk for years. We would talk at these events, and just forever, it seemed.
How long have you been married? How about that?
We just celebrated 40 years.
Okay. Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
40 years. That's huge.
Yeah, it is huge.
Any words of advice for married couples or future married couples?
That for Daniela.
I would say lots of laughter, lots of honest communication, and healthy disagreements, not disrespectful arguing, but just healthy forms of communicating when you're upset or don't agree with something.
Wise words. 40 years. Well, congratulations to you all.
Thank you.
40 years.
Thank you.
Huge. Let me ask you, Ed, this one, a story that we can tell. Do you remember how we first met?
I sure do. So I received a phone call. It went into my message box. And I remember you check on it, you write the numbers down, and it said, I'll call this guy in a day. Never heard of your name before, who you were at the time. And I'm not sure who exactly recommended you to call me up, but I said, okay, well, I'll call him back in a day or two. And as I've told you in the past, I make a point of calling people back. It might take 2 or 3 days, but I call them back. And so I did call you back. And we ended up having lunch in South Miami. And I think the connection was immediate. Mm-hmm. I loved what you were representing. It was already back then change for the industry and the way I think you were representing the Vision Council. Am I correct?
I was working for Reed Exhibitions.
For Reed Exhibitions.
At that time.
Thank you. And you had some interesting concepts already at the time that you wanted to put into place. And I thought that these optical shows had gone through considerable amount of changes in the years that I've been doing this. And that you had some innovative ideas at the time that were well worth listening to. And from what I remember, they were executed. And so congratulations to you.
Thank you. We got it done.
Am I correct? That was the time.
Yes, you got it correct. You're being very kind with your story. So I was new in the visible part of the industry at that time, and people told me, they were like, you got to get to know who the movers and shakers are. So I saw on Vision Monday Top 50, there was a store called Edward Beiner. I think it was called Edward Beiner Purveyor Fine Eyewear then.
Correct.
So me, being so inexperienced, I figured that, Edward Beiner must be at the Edward Beiner store. So I called South Miami, left a message. I called Naples, left a message. I called Orlando, I think you had 12 stores at the time.
Right.
I called all 12 stores and left a message. And I was working out one day and get a phone call from a Miami number. And I answer it, and it's like, hello, this is Edward Beiner. And I just jumped off my treadmill. And I was like, oh, you called me back. And your response was like, top response to this day. You were like, Tarrence, I had to. You called all my stores. you're like, if I felt like if I didn't call you back, you will show up at my house. And then I flew out to Miami. We had lunch at, I think, Capitol Grill. It was around the corner from your South Miami store. And you were going through, just teaching me all these things about the industry. And I remember you pausing and saying, I really wish my wife was here because she knows so much more about this than I do.
Yes.
And I thought that was the nicest thing ever. And then I met Daniela and I was like, he wasn't lying.
Okay. I'll pay you later for that comment.
When you first started in luxury, who were some of the key players in luxury eyewear?
So I'll just want to correct one thing. I don't think I teach as much as I shared with you, and I love sharing our experiences.
I like that.
So, and I do share with a lot of people in the industry that I enjoy and trust, because those are the moments that are so wonderful. And I think that that's when the best communication takes place. So your question, I think I know the leaders at the time, even though I didn't know them, and I really hadn't heard about them. It was later on that I paid attention. But Marvin Freeman was there doing things out in LA, and Larry Sands was doing his own thing in Aspen. And I think those two, as I opened the store, this is 1981, my customers kept on coming back and saying, oh, I was in Aspen. I went to the optical shop at Aspen. I'm thinking, who are these people? And they have the Porsches they custom color them. And I'm thinking, I've been thinking about doing the same thing. And there was Marvin doing this uber luxury, even in today's levels, orchids being delivered every day to these stores that were all in lacquer black and stunning shops. And so I think those were the two big movers at the time. There were other people coming along with me, but these were those were the guys that were there 8-10 years before, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then there was a little shop in New York, because I remember going to the optical show and trying to find opticals in New York that maybe I would find interesting. And there was Meyerowitz. I don't know who owned it at the time. It was a great little shop. It had really high-end products. And I thought, this is maybe the way high-end should look like. So those probably in my mind are the three. Of course, later on, as the business evolved in the 80s, you end up with, the Robert Marks, Morgenthau Fredericks, and some of the big names, the girls at LA Eyeworks, they caused they changed then the industry in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Even when you're just saying right now, the girls at LA Eyeworks, just thinking
big
about
loss.
Big loss to our industry.
Talk about sharing, right?
Yes.
And they have stories that were just unbelievable.
Yeah. I have some quotes. When I used to do the conversations during the pandemic, I've actually saved like little snippets from Gay.
Yeah.
And, when her passing, just go back through all the different, tips that she gave the industry about just, life in this, industry in general. I mean, they were just gems.
So if I can throw a little story.
Sure, please.
I go to where I was at Silmo, went out for dinner. On the way out, we're looking for a cab. And I knew I had one of the LA Eyeworks girls with me. She was walking. I didn't know which one. And I'm walking, trying to wave taxis. They keep on going by. And I looked at her and I said, by any chance, are you gay? And she says, oh, Ed, in more ways than one.
So Gay has not changed.
I never forgot that.
Oh, wow.
Talk about it. We're talking this, I don't know, probably 1989, 1990.
Oh, man.
And that always stayed in my mind. I mean, great sense of humor. And
that was her. That was Gay, for sure.
That was Gay.
I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about, Edward Beiner, the store, the brand. I remember you telling me that your parents were jewelers.
Right.
So when did you figure out, or maybe how did you figure out that eyewear was the path you wanted to go down and this was going to be part of your life's work?
So having a family that's in retail kind of gives you a sense of what's going on. Sales, how to bring customers in. I will hear some of these conversations, right? Products. And my father in particular, he used to pick up in the city where he came from in Santos. It's a big port town. And ships would come in, tourist ships would arrive. And my father would go with a row of taxis, bring the customers down to the store. And at the shop, he would serve whiskey, coffee. And I remember seeing all that and how people enjoyed, and they would buy these Brazilian stones at the time, or jewelry, Brazilian jewelry. And it just kind of sinks into your DNA. You don't think about it. So years later, as I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life, I was in Canada because I decided to immigrate to Canada. And I arrived looking desperately for a job. And I remember at downtown, there was I wouldn't call it an optical, it was a kiosk, open kiosk. And there was this girl selling frames. And she was telling people about fashion and what frames look good in their face. And then I saw her writing and starting to take notes. It was a prescription. So we started discussing how this all worked, right? And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, this is pure retail. She's giving advice on what people should be wearing. And the place was pretty high-end during its days, particularly for a kiosk. And then this medical thing kind of piqued my interest because now jewelry, you don't need. It's something you want. But this was a product that you need it because you need to see. And then you add a component of, I want style. How does it look on me? And it was like this. And I went looking for a job. I went over to Josephson's at the time. Had my hair long down to here.
I want to see that photo.
And he basically told me to go and shower myself, come back with a haircut, and he might give me a job. So in the meantime, I went to an optical to work in an optical warehouse down in the downtown part of Toronto. And 6 months later, I was at a dispensary at the Eaton department stores for down in Dundas and Yonge with my dear friend, Bob Career.
Bob Career. Well, when I first met Bob Career, he was like, "Oh, I know Ed really well. We actually roomed together when we were really young."
Kind of, but yes.
That's awesome. So, how many stores in total? How many Edward Beiner stores in total did you have?
By the time by 2020, we were around 13 stores and one online business.
Amazing. And the first store was South Miami. The one that's still there.
Yes, still there.
So
45 years later.
Wow. Congratulations. Look at Daniela's face.
I just don't understand how we got here.
Yeah, well, we'll find out today. So you opened up South Miami. That's going well.
No, it didn't go well.
Oh. Yeah, let's hear about it. Let's hear about it. Yeah, let's hear about it.
So it was the right neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I built a cute little store with $50,000, friends and family money. Not that was a lot of money back then, but I was, and there's a story behind that. I really, I knew I had a high-end clientele because of the neighborhood, However, I didn't really recognize that at first because I came from working at 4Eyes. I came from working with Imperial Optical, where volume was the integral part of the business. And so I figured, let me go somewhere in between. And the high-end products that we talk about today didn't exist. So the first year was extremely difficult. The second year was, I don't think I'm going to make it. And now I wanted to pivot, but we didn't have any more money. At that point, yes, we're living together. So you add another 5 years to the 40 years of marriage.
I got it.
Right?
I got it.
And so I didn't think I was going to make it. And 1983, around 3 years into it, really difficult periods and really scratching your head. And you knew you had to hang in there and make it happen. There were more and more people coming in, but never enough. Got to pay rent, electricity, taxes. And business started picking up 1984 a little bit. And then these, I'm going to cut through that story short because two girls had come in with this wonderful little product called Oliver Peoples. Slightly before Larry Light. And somehow there was an agreement afterwards. And Larry and the Ray and the whole team kind of worked with with that group, whoever they might have been. And it was the first time I had brought Oliver Peoples into the store. 1984, I think I might have been, Robert Mark always says he was account number 1 or 2. I might have been 4, 5, 6, but the early ones. And that became a game changer because the consumer, for the first time, saw frames that were different. The clip-ons were new to them. The styles, the tortoiseshell, those square little frames were new to them. And that started bringing a large volume of high-end product along with volume of people coming into the shop. And the growth was exponential between 1984 and 1990. And I will say that I'm not the only person. With many people I speak in the industry. And I would like to give credit to Larry and the Ray. We benefited, and in a positive sense, and so did Oliver Peoples from that exponential growth.
Now, Daniela, at that time, were you handling the marketing for
No,
Edward
we
Beiner?
didn't have marketing.
You didn't have
back
marketing?
then. we barely
By the
had a
way,
salary.
If she had, I wouldn't have had tough 3 years.
No, he's being kind. I didn't know. No, and at that time, I was just starting in the film business in Miami. I had moved here. I had gone to, I had lived in Paris. Then I went to NYU and took this real intensive film course. And my professors, I didn't know where to go, New York, LA, Miami. And Miami was third at that time. And Miami Vice was just starting. And they were, you should go to Miami. And they gave me names of people to contact. And I basically just started as a gopher. You know, go for this, go for that. You know, the last person on the totem pole. And this was, you know, before cell phones, before anything. So you literally had to go places and look for things. And then on Saturdays, I would go and I would file and do whatever I could to help him but no, there was no marketing at that point. I don't even think we knew about marketing back then. Wow.
So when was
early
it?
Days.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's okay.
When was it that you joined the business, the brand, full time?
So Stephen was born in 93, so I guess around 97, I had really made a name for myself in the film business, especially at that time we had a lot of Italian companies that would come here. So when we would go to Mito, Mito used to be a 4-day show, and I would spend the Friday and the Monday going to visit film companies, and the Saturday and the Sunday I would walk Mito with Ed. And the fact that I spoke Italian really, really helped. So when I finally got my one big break, it was 89 because I was pregnant with David. And after that, they were just, the buzz went around, you know, she speaks Italian, she understands our culture, she's a good bridge. And so that's when I really started to take off. But then when the boys were little, and we used to work, we had a saying in the film business, if you only worked 8 hours, you only worked half a day. So you did 10 days straight like that. And then I had these little boys at home, and, and eventually I said, I don't want to be waking up at 4 a.m. and have someone yell because the sun didn't come up the right way. And that's when Ed said, why don't you come and help me? Because I could really use some more help now at this point. And that's pretty much how it happened.
Wow.
And we had the beginning of a wholesale business.
Yes,
That was
we also had My Specs, which Ed designed and started, and we had to package and come up with a really good story for that.
So do you feel like your background in filmed really helped you to design and shape the voice of Ed Beiner?
Absolutely.
And was it My Specs?
My Specs and the stores, yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because as I said, I would sit in on so many creative meetings on what was the brand, who were the characters in the commercials, what were they trying to sell, what were they trying to what was the message this brand was trying to give. So by then I was no longer a gopher, and I had learned a lot. So I was able to translate a lot of that into our stores. So yeah.
That's great. So that time there weren't many players in luxury eyewear. So how were you able to have the marketing or even the store concept? How were you able to make it in a way, or design it in a way, I should say, that resonated with the consumer when there weren't many true luxury eyewear retails, in the U.S. period?
So, we had to think really local, and that's partially also part of why we expanded, because it was local South Miami, then it became local South Beach, local Coconut Grove, local Boca Raton, local West Palm Beach, Orlando, and communication was a little bit more difficult back then. And so even the ads that Daniela were putting together and the messaging was always in magazines that were fairly local, very high end, but fairly local hotels. Once I think there is a size, we were able to scale it to a more of a awareness. And I wouldn't call it, I only stayed in Florida, particularly for that purpose. And I always like to say that we were a dominant player in the state of Florida because no one else had 12, 13, or even 10 stores. And that was our goal. We never had any intentions of saying, let's open a store in New York or Chicago or any of the big cities, because communication was much more difficult to make it grow, even though there are players that did it, right? Marvin being one of them. But even like that, I think that it was a different market.
I think also what Ed isn't mentioning is that he gave a lot of service in the stores that wasn't common back then. So he would pull out the chairs for people. Everyone was walked to the door. Water was offered. Way before someone wanted to take the glasses home to show their husbands, he trusted them that they would bring them back. So he created this sort of, I am your person. Mm-hmm. Our stores is where you go to look good and feel comfortable in your medically necessary eyewear. And that wasn't common back at the time when he was doing it. So, I think that played a big part too.
So important. I mean, the service aspect, as we know, having the right products, of course, is going to bring people in the door, but what keeps them coming back?
Exactly.
Right. It's that service aspect. And I even think at one point, not talking just about optical, just talking about luxury goods in general. At one point, I feel like that service aspect was lost. I'm starting to feel it coming back little by little. When you go to a clothing, apparel boutique, or a shoe store, or an optical store, you're seeing more and more people realizing that they have to differentiate themselves when it comes to service.
Absolutely, and where you see it especially is when you're, we go to Italy a lot for the optical show. Is you walk into any boutique there, and the people acknowledge you and they help you. And we were in Italy last month, and we walked into a store, and I tried on a pair of pants, and they were unusual. That I really needed to have the top with me before I left, and I couldn't find anything. And as we left, I said to the lady, I said, "I'm so sorry," and she was like, "No, I'm sorry, I couldn't help you." Wow. And I'm thinking like, wow, no one would ever say that in the States.
Oh, I was going to tell a story. I'm going to say this wrong, Daniela. You speak French, correct?
Yes, I used to when I lived there. It's very rusty, but go on.
Printemps? Mm-hmm. Ah, good. I'm
The
saying it
department
right.
store.
You know, they opened up one in
Yes,
New York
in New
now.
York. Have you been?
It is the best retail experience I've ever been through. I mean, no one points, no one, tells you, oh, it's over there.
They take you.
Everyone takes you. And as you're going, they're not trying to sell you. It's like, oh, and over here we have our signature cocktails, which are complimentary. Come and try that out. Over here we have, infrared masks in our beauty department. You should come one day. And it's almost like you're in this apartment, and they're a host that's telling you all the amenities within this apartment.
There is an art to selling, which I think has been lost. My dad was in cheap wholesale. But he always used to say, there's a difference between someone buying someone and you selling something. And that's very true. You go in to buy that black T-shirt, but if you sell them the jeans or the pants and the belt, you sold them. They didn't just buy it.
Very true.
And that's something that Ed always worked really hard on training his people without being pushy.
I want to get back to you two as a couple, working couple and married couple. That's when we turn it up a little bit. Was it easy or challenging to be able to balance your business relationship and your marital relationship? I mean, how do you blend those together and be able to even know when to take a step back?
So I really think, first of all, Daniela and I always had a great relationship. Friends when we were friends, and it was easy to talk. We always talk about that. And so maintaining our friendship, and then as a young couple, we moved to Miami, and we started living together. That requires some adjustment, because now it's not only, everyone goes to their own place. This is now you're under one roof. And I think communication and caring for another person and making sure that they're okay, making sure that the conversations are transparent, I think that was key. Because then when you're building that business, the business is part of that life, but it shouldn't be all of that life. And I think even when we had kids, I know when we had kids, came 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and we're having dinner at home. And Danielle always made a point that everybody sits on the table and you're having a dinner sitting down. Very little business conversation took place. It was about the kids, what they did during the day. And I think that balance of work and business life, work life, personal life was key. And I think we also have different interests. So I do my thing, she does her thing. And that's not that there haven't been stressful periods. They have. But I think that is the key balance. You just can't take the stuff home. And you can't bring your home problems to the office.
It must be challenging at times. Like I could just imagine, But I think what's great is what you said is that you guys were friends. You were always friends first.
We were friends for a very long time.
Yeah. So being able to be friends, you come home, it's like you're also speaking.
Right.
You're interested in what you have to say.
And I think we had the same goals. I mean, we wanted to have, psychologically healthy children who felt that they had a place to go, that the business didn't take priority over them when we were with them.
Gotcha.
And we wanted to see the business grow, and we wanted to see our home life be able to grow. So I think all of that played into it. But I don't know that we consciously thought of those things back then. I think it was just something inherent in our natures. I mean, we knew not to discuss business at the dinner table because we understood that it was time to be with our children. But a lot of the other things, I don't know that we consciously thought about them and made those conscious decisions. I think it's only now when we look back on it that maybe we had a certain wisdom or whatever, not to do things that because of what we had learned at home, you know.
But I also think that we didn't know we were planning, but I think there was a lot of planning. It took us. I'm not recommending this for everyone, but we lived together for 5 years.
Right.
So we went through some struggles and a learning process there. Then we finally decided to buy a home. We lived in the home another 3 years or so.
10 years.
Not 3 years before we had a child.
Oh, yes.
Correct? So
Yes.
yes. So 3 years. So we adjusted to having a home and living in the house and then planning the next step. So I think there is a considerable amount of planning that we did. And that helped. Not having a plan is not good.
Sure.
And I think not that we consciously sat down and said, oh, well, for 3 years now, we will not have kids. But it just, the evolution and the process was there and the thinking behind it.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think it's important that a lot of couples who are listening are people that want to be married at some point. Listen in, and I think even now I'm seeing more and more of the next generation, and they're starting these businesses together. Within ours is to be able to have that balance, and even to be able to have other interests to speak about. Ed, cars are a big thing for you. So I know that having that conversation and being able to enlighten one another on things other than just
Yes, absolutely. You need to have your own interests. You need to have your own life apart, with your own girlfriends or your own male friends, and do things apart, but do them together. And I think as a woman, I think it's a little bit harder because you're a daughter, you're a wife, you're a mother, and it's very challenging, I think, for women not to just become all of those three things and to remember that somewhere there's a person in there too that is not one of those three things. And I don't believe that men necessarily go through as much of that struggle as we do. My daughter-in-laws would probably tell me I'm being very politically incorrect saying all of that, but I do think that's true.
Let's go. So how did you do that, Daniela? I mean, here you are, you're coming into leaving film, coming into the eyewear. How were you able to have your own interests, and be able to be known more than wife and mother?
I don't know that I did for a few years. For a long time I was, oh, you're married to Ed Beiner type of thing, or you're David's mom, or you're Stephen's mom. And I think it was as they got older that I started being able to go back out on my own. So I had I was my own person when I was in the film business, but then when I was working with Ed, I was very much a mom and a business partner and a wife. And then as they got older, I started to say, okay, now it's time for me to start evolving again. And then it was easier to leave home also, to go away on a longer trip to Mito or to Silmo. I was able to go on more of those trips with him. So I think as they got a little bit older, it became a little easier for me to start redeveloping myself.
Just to let you know, Daniela, he's always Daniela's husband to me. I can't remember his name half the time.
You'll be surprised how often that happens.
And I want to just rewind a little bit back to 2020. 2020, you've been, Edward Beiner's been going on for, 4 decades at this point. And then at that point, 2020, it was Edward Beiner was acquired by New Look Vision. What was the time? Well, what made it that at that moment you were like, okay, now is a time for me to be able to entrust what I have built all these years into another company's hands, like New Look?
So it didn't happen that moment, right? So that's key. There was a plan behind it. And what happened is actually started in 2006 or 7. We had Larry Sands calls in a private meeting at the Lutèce Hotel in Paris. I'm giving everybody this big story.
Yeah.
And there is around 8 or 9 of us sitting there. And I think Robert Mark was there and Rick Morgenthau was there and I can't remember who else.
To be a fly on the wall.
He
I wasn't
says,
there. I didn't know about this.
but so he turned around and says, "What are we going to sell our businesses to?" I don't know. I must have been in my 40s, and that was kind of a moment. I says, "Wait a minute. Why is he thinking that?" And you add that together with the fact that I didn't want my kids in my business. That was a choice.
So you did not want
I did
your
not
kids.
want my kids. I just seen too many family issues. And I started planning, so what happens now when I'm age 60, 65, and etc. You start aging. And so the idea of planning how to sell the company, how to evaluate a company, what are the pieces you need to put together before you sell a company, start crossing my mind. And as we're preparing this, nice and slow, at that same period, there were already conversations going on. Companies were being bought, companies were being sold in 2007, 8. Actually, Morgenthau Frederick sold to a particular group. And so some of this stuff already started happening. And it only piqued my attention. And so totally by accident in 2013, I was asked to, at the summit in New York City,
the Vision Monday Summit?
the Vision Monday Summit, to join 2 other people on a conversation about eyewear in the market and the future of the market. Mark Jaxelrad actually was the one that invited me. And so I'm standing there in the waiting room before going up to stage, and I met this gentleman, Antoine Amiel. And we just hit it off, and we start talking and exchanging ideas and whatnot. And we go up on stage, and next thing you know, like here, there's a whole bunch of people out there. We're not even paying attention to them anymore. And we're going at it and having these wonderful conversations. We walk out of stage, and he says, "If I ever open and expand to the United States, I'm calling you up." So between 2014 and 2020, 6 years went by. There were attempts in between, but be it for one market reason or the other, one is ready, one isn't ready. It's almost like getting married. And so for me, there was another important aspect of why New Look. I connected with Antoine. Antoine understood high-end. He understood the importance of employees and the legacy that all these stores, including my store, but later on other stores, how the legacy was important. And I want to make sure my employees were okay too. And some of them, and they're all there. So in 2019, we decided that was it. We had signed the deal, and it became official March 5th of 2020.
Timing, huh?
Wow. Right before the whole world shut down.
So I was asked to go to Montreal. Antoine and we love sharing this story.
Yeah.
Go to Montreal. I was asked to go to a board meeting to meet all the board members because New Look Group was a publicly held company. And so come up to the board. I go to Montreal. We had a wonderful day. We met the board. I met the board. We go for dinner. I was leaving the next day. And our phones start going off. And all our stores, his stores, at that point, I think they might have had 400 stores in Canada. Mm-hmm. My 12 stores that were open at the time, but 13 was Coco Walk that was going to open, but all shut down at the same time. Wow. And I'm looking at him, and the money's in the bank. And I'm looking at him, and this is a man that I treat as a friend. you don't want anybody being hurt. So it happened. And as all relationships go, you have to trust. You got to believe that you're doing all the right thing. Within a month of that, by April 21st, we start writing up that ship. By May and June, we were going a full blast. And neither Antoine nor I had ever looked back, except to laugh at that moment when we were having dinner that night. But yes.
I remember when the press release had come out about the acquisition, and I called you, and I was like, "Oh, congratulations! This is great. What are your plans?" And you're like, "Oh, we're going to spend so much time skiing, and we're going to I'll still be involved in the business, but I'm going to go ahead and spend a lot more time traveling." And then a few months later, you took on the role of CEO of New Look Vision US, and now you stepped aside from that role. So what's your current status now? Is the traveling still happening? Are you semi-retired still?
So two things. At that time, I wasn't necessarily going to go skiing. The future was, yes, at one point I will retire. And but I had made a commitment to, stay with the company. And not contractually, to stay with the company. So yes, and approximately I would say a year later is when I picked up the second job as CEO. So where do I sit today? I am traveling with my lovely wife, enjoying the trips and our time together. And I sit in the executive board with New Look Group. I have my meetings once a month with the whole group, or I should say I join Antoine with his group. And I stay in touch with, when necessary, obviously, with the president of the company, which is Glenn Reich. And when things are necessary, I'm there for the company.
Nice. And
particularly for Antoine and New Look Group. And I want them to succeed. I think they're great people. This sounds like an ad, but I really don't mean that way.
No, it's real. It's a conversation between friends.
And so, and that's my job. I try to travel as much as I can.
Good. Both of you have given so much to the business, the brand, and now being able to transition. Do you miss it at all? Do you ever think in your travels as you're going to Europe or South Africa, do you ever think back, we really miss those times?
I'll take the first shot.
Go, be my guest, babe.
I find it interesting. I've been able to detach myself from the business. And detach in the sense that I don't feel I need to control it and run it. And I think there are great people in the company that can do it today. People, some of them I trained, and I trust them 100% to take the legacy and move it forwards. And it's a good moment to know when to step back. I think that is really key. So I tend to look at the company from maybe, instead of being in the weeds, maybe a little bit farther out. And I hope that New Look Group will do the right thing with the brand, which is something that they own it, they have it, and you gotta let go. Yeah. So for Daniela, conversations, you explain your feelings with it.
So I don't know that I miss it, but I just know that it's really important to me personally, since it's Edward's name up there, that the quality and the standards get maintained. And so that to me is important, because I don't want, sometimes I'll hear someone say, "Oh yeah, well you guys don't own it anymore," and that sort of, yes, but it's still you should still go. It's still got the same quality. It still has the same people. It still has the same standards. It's still one of the best in Florida. So, but the day to day, no, I've busied myself with other with other things. But yes, I do. It is important to me to know that the standard is maintained.
It's amazing. I think a lot of times people look at, Edward Beiner, the brand, and they're just like, they see where it's at now. But can you ever think of a time where you've doubted yourself or the brand? Maybe I'm talking about even after the first 3 years. Can you think of a time where you ever doubted yourself or the brand?
So I never doubted the what I wanted to do. I did have moments of doubt. Am I doing the right thing? So stores that open, we talk about all the success, but the reality, there's a lot of failure in there too. We must have closed, I think, approximately 4 to 5 stores. There are moments of cash flow that were extremely painful and difficult. And that's when you take the issues home. So how do marriages survive that, right? It's I never doubted. So you bring these doubts in, and then you work a solution. And we always worked option 1, option 2, option 3. Always had options. I tell my kids that today too. Don't just stick to one way of doing things. Have a plan A, B, and C. Right? If this doesn't work, but A's gotta work. It's not the B and C are an option. A's gotta work. But if it doesn't succeed, how do you fall back without totally taking a hit, right? The other thing, you talk about the brand, but most people don't know, and I give Daniela a lot of credit in this, is we had a company called Mr. Eyes Optical for approximately close to 15 years, close to 20 years, actually. The store in South Miami was Mr. Eyes Optical, and for 20 years, Coconut Grove was Coco Lunette. And then we had Sobe Lunette, and we had 4 or 5 different names, and it was all for legal reasons, right? And Daniela one day comes up to me and says, you should take a look and consider changing the brand. And I said, change the brand to what? To Edward Beiner. I said, why would I do that? I don't want my name up there. So she probably can pick up from here. The last thing I ever wanted was my name up there. And it took over a year of other people being involved that start giving the value of what was important to do. And so I agreed to the change. And I was extremely fearful of you build for 20 years a brand and now you're going to change the names. What the hell is going on? Why would you do that? So looking back 25 years ago when that happened, I think it was the greatest decision. And she gets the credit for also increase, in a way, can't divorce her now. She'll take everything.
I'd never realized.
She'll take the money. Antoine's got the name. That's it. I say I'm done.
You get the kids.
Yeah, you can get the kids.
I'm going with Daniela, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that at one point it wasn't Edward Beiner.
It wasn't always Edward Beiner. And so you ask about the film business. That's where a lot of my training or my experiences came in. And I was like, we can't keep on doing this. We have to have one core identity of who we are and what these stores represent. But it did. Ed is very humble. It took him a long time convincing him. We are fortunate that we have a very dear friend who's a branding genius. Branding behind Colgate-Palmolive and Microsoft and all sorts of things, and he and I would really work on it over dinner.
That's amazing.
And then when we changed the name, he put a plan together for us to sort of follow on how to do it. So, but yeah, that was something I believed very strongly in, and fortunately it worked out. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
And it works this way. When she gets upset, now it says, I made you. I can't finish.
I remember at the time when I launched EYECON's agency, I was working for New Look. Ed was my boss at the time. He hates when I call him my boss.
I hate that.
His name was on my paycheck, so what does that call, And I told Ed I wanted to go out and start EYECON's agency. And he looked at me, he was like, are you scared? Do you remember this, Ed?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, yes, good. Yeah. And then a year and a half later, I launched EYECON. And then he was like, are you scared? I'm like, yeah. He's like, good. He says, I'm going to check in with you another year, and you should still be scared after that.
Listen, building something is very challenging. People look back and they don't know the sleepless nights. They don't know those nights when you're tossing and turning and did I make the right decision? And they don't, when they're on the outside looking in, don't know those nights when you thought, I don't know if we're going to make payroll this week. And we have, in our case, we have 2 kids and we have to take that money out of money that, it's always
right out of your personal account.
It's hard to save the money. It's very easy to spend the money.
Absolutely.
And so fear and a calculated risk is a good thing. But if you don't try it when you have the opportunity, that opportunity is lost, and you may never do it. And it takes a certain personality to be entrepreneurial. And I think it's great what you're doing. I think it takes a certain amount of bravery. And listen, I know what it takes because we've done it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The thing about it is, I think even for myself, even launching EYECON itself in this year, in 2025, I only had a few months to get everything planned, but I realized it had to be this year. If it wasn't going to be this year, I'd be looking on the sidelines, and thinking, man, I should have done this. Was it hard? Absolutely. Is it still hard? Of course. I'm going into 2026? Absolutely. But as you said, there's a plan, and I'm continuing just following the plan and looking at the plan. A, B, C, et cetera, et cetera.
You should never go through life saying I should have.
Yeah.
And if you're not nervous and concerned, that means you're being reckless. So when the moment you got a plan and you want to execute, your level of stress will go up, but there's good stress and bad stress. Bad stress is really when you can't sleep at night because everything has gone wrong. And then there's the excitement stress. Is, let's get this thing done. We can. Yes, we can.
That's it. It fuels you. It fuels you.
Yeah.
All right. So before we end, I want to play a quick game. It's called the shoe game, but we will not be taking our shoes off because I realize our shoes are too cool. It's like,
especially yours. Yours are very cool.
And Daniela's are fairly cool too.
The carpet is way too good. It's just a way of being able to, I think for me, knowing you all, can you believe it's been 10 years that I've known you two, as a couple. Knowing you both as 10 years, sharing meals together, laughs, stories, sometimes even
kids.
That too. I know how compatible you are, but it's a little fun game to just be able to demonstrate your compatibility and maybe even get a few stories out of it as well. So I'm going to ask a question, right? Now, it's going to be who's the best this. And if you think it's yourself, point to yourself. If you think it's your spouse, point to them, okay? So we'll start off easy, because I know the answer to this first one. I think this is just, I think we all know the answer to this one. Who is the best cook? What are some of your favorite meals from Daniela?
Well, Daniela is very special with her meals because she's laughing. She knows where I'm going with this. Daniela's a great cook.
Yes.
And there are many different meals that I like. But the thing that's the best is she's always experimenting, and you never know what you're going to be eating. And especially the one that freaks me out is it's great, but she goes, "Oh, we have guests over at the house. I have to try something new." I said, "No, with the guests." So she is always talking about taking risks and
next time you're in town, you'll come and we'll do something new.
I have.
Right.
Well,
That's true.
we had an amazing salmon at your house.
Yes.
But I remember us going to this restaurant and there was this fruit. Remember that? Zuma? It was just like this big fruit.
Yes.
And you were like, I'm taking the fruit home for a cake. And I was like, what kind of cake is Daniela going to make with lychee and guava? And
she takes a risk. But there is no particular meal. I mean, from fish to pastas to eggplant. She makes now some superb eggplants.
Yeah. We're making all
Great
different
stuff.
sorts of
I can't wait. I can't wait for my next trip to here in Miami.
Yeah.
Okay, who's the biggest risk taker? Why do you say that? Is it business or is it also in general?
In general.
Yeah.
I ride the motorcycle. I am willing to, I encouraged Daniela. We went out in the Dolomites. We decided to jump off a
parasailing,
parachute up in the Alps. I mean, all this stuff is but I must say one thing, and it goes for business, right? I might have push, right, and say, I'm willing to take that risk. But it's Daniela that asks the questions where, okay, so what are we doing if it doesn't work? What happens? So there's always a plan. And the fact that she's then willing to take the risk, it's not we go opposite directions, is okay, now that I understand what the risk is, I'm willing to take the risk with you. And,
It's amazing.
So I think that's part of the partnership and trust.
We call that ride or die. By the way, Daniela, we call that ride or die.
We went 7 days, 10 days on a motorcycle across the country. So, yeah.
That's awesome. This is a hard one. I don't even know the answer to this one. Who's the most stylish?
Oh, Ed.
That's hard. I've seen you both come out with some fits. I've seen you both come out with, I mean, not just like the names, it's just like the quality of both. You both like fashion.
My mom always
quite a
said to
bit.
buy quality.
Yeah.
My mom always said buy good.
Yeah.
So that we do. But Ed is, my girlfriends are jealous because I have one of the few husbands that actually likes to go shopping with me.
Yeah, like
So,
Yeah, I see both of you definitely appreciate fashion a lot. I've had a lot of conversations with both of you. And you know fashion history quite well. I still have a book you guys gifted me. When I got my apartment, Gucci by Gucci.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I still have that book. It's on my coffee table.
I was very fortunate as a kid. I had my grandfather was a tailor, and he lived in a neighborhood in São Paulo in Brazil. And I must have been 11, 12 years old. It took me to have custom shoes made, custom shirts made. And it wasn't about custom. It was why buy something when you can have something done, same price, but now you got a tailor that's doing it. And that stayed with me. I passed it on to my kids. They do the same thing. And you know David and Steven fairly well. So Daniela hears that very often. And I think that a lot of that applied within the optical industry as I start, building the business.
but he's definitely more of a prince than
Is he? All right, one last question. Both of you have been partners in business and partners in life for decades. There's so many in this next generation that are coming out, these couples that are starting business together, wanting to start businesses together, even ones that are not from this industry. You know, one spouse may be in the industry, one may not be. What advice do you have for ones like that are looking to be strong partners in life while being partners in business?
So there's I read somewhere, I don't remember where, but it basically says, remember that when there's a problem, it's not you and him against each other, it's you and him against the problem. And I think that's very important to remember, especially if you want to be able to stay together. I think that honest communication about what scares you or where you don't feel you can be strong for that person or where you don't support that person. I think in all these years, I think there were only 2 or 3 incidences where I said to Ed, I cannot support you in this decision. And then we really had to work that out. We really had to work that out because we both felt very strongly. But as I said, that didn't happen very often. But we had to be able to talk about it, and I had to be able to say that rather than agree and be resentful or angry. So I think that honest communication, which is very hard because sometimes you don't necessarily even yourself know what's bothering you, so, and I think that takes a lot of work and a lot of, and to, when you do disagree, you have to disagree respectfully. And I don't want to say you should never go to bed angry, but you should definitely never not be speaking to each other,
Yeah, absolutely.
You have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say that you absolutely, those words are correct. But I think that also add to that, if you're going to build a business together, don't do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
She's an expert in marketing. I didn't sit down and tell her what to do. I had to trust that she knew what she's doing. And so she might have brought things over to me and say, what do you think? But it was her department. In the meantime, I was buying frames and choosing frames, and Daniela never came to me and says, oh, don't buy that collection. When it came to the shows, I did all the buying for the stores. When it came to running the employees, I basically I managed the stores. I might have gone for her opinion and asked for her opinion, but you don't want two people buying frames. You don't want the same two people doing the marketing. That's when you take it home and hell breaks loose.
But that's also true if you're just business partners also. If you had a business partner, you can't both have the same, you have to complement each other with what your areas of expertise are. Otherwise, you're just stepping on each other's toes. And where you need to have all skill sets somewhat covered.
You don't want to go into Chrome Hearts and have the couple arguing about, this is a good idea, it's a bad idea, don't buy that frame. I don't like the name.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, thank you both so much for being my first guest on Eye Conversations. This was really special. I really wanted someone who meant a lot to me. So Daniela, thank you for coming.
No, because I fed you.
Is that what it is?
That's now I got it.
That evening that you came for dinner, and I think it was a school night. Nobody left till 1 a.m.
Oh, man.
And Ed said we went through like 7 bottles. We went through a lot.
7 bottles
of water, yeah. 7 bottles of water, yes. Or that Veuve Clicquot water. Yeah, absolutely. No, both of you have been very special to me. I really appreciate you as, being in the industry, people I look up to personally and professionally. And, I love your family, the boys. I look forward to meeting my sister-in-laws one day. But thank you so much. And hopefully you'll come back.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully you'll have many podcasts and you'll be doing this in 5 years and you'll go, so remember the first one?
That's
What's
right.
changed?
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I know one thing that won't change is Daniela, because Ed showed me a photo of you, Daniela, from like when the boys were small. And I was like, Daniela looks the exact same. I'm not just saying that because you fed me or to flatter you. You really look the exact same. So anyway, well, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tarrence.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you enjoyed this podcast, and if you enjoyed this podcast, please share, like, and
What?
you enjoyed this podcast. I give up. My name is Edward Beiner. It's been an honor to be here at Eye Conversations. And please share this program in your social media and Instagram. If you enjoy this podcast, please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you.